big aspect where we helped in broadcast stations out there is to connect to other live data sources, such as for natural disasters, for example, for hurricanes, for Cal Fire that just happened a couple of weeks ago, for the war in Ukraine, for example.
Hello, Nexters. Welcome to another episode of Next Pod, the Next Edition podcast. With us today is Maggie from Mapcreator. Welcome, Maggie.
Hi, Adam. Nice to
It's
see you.
nice to see you too. You're the first lady we've had on the podcast.
Awesome. Always like to hear that.
The first question that I want to ask you is, of course, Mapcreator is a mapping software, which is really nice and integrated with Next Edition, of course. How did you get into the world of mapping and data and visualization? Can you give us a potted history of your journey to this point with the listeners and viewers?
Yeah, definitely. It's like with so many other stories in life, completely not what was planned or what I thought that it's going to look like or how my career is going to look like. I didn't have a map fetish yet at that time. I studied marketing and sales management at the University of Applied Sciences in Graz in Austria. And part of the curriculum was to do a semester abroad, do an internship abroad. And yeah, I went off into that grand search, trying to find out what speaks to me, what I might like, what I might not like, and ended up finding this, small software company in a city that I've never heard of before, Eindhoven in the Netherlands. Now, just to put that into context, it's where the Philips light bulb was born, or where, if you're into football, PSV is playing, or it has a name for the Dutch Design Week or the Technical University. Now, all things that actually really didn't speak to me at first, and software even less so. But I ended up loving the internship, ended up loving the city, the company, and never left. And that's now 8 years ago. And by now, I do have probably a map fetish.
Well, maps are wonderful. And that's why I wanted to have you on the show, because it's such an interesting thing to talk about. And it's such an inherently important part of what we do in storytelling, and how we can show where things are happening and how things have happened in the past, etc. It's a big thing. So why do you think maps and data-driven storytelling is becoming more important in media and journalism right now?
It's, well, to start with the obvious and stating the obvious, it's oftentimes just so much easier to look at a graphic than having to listen to a report and then trying to translate that, what it could mean or what it could look like, or reading through a report. So if you have a news anchor on the show speaking about where in the world is happening, or where in the world what is happening, then it's just so much easier to understand where this is, if you can look at a map instead of doing that math yourself. So I think that's one big aspect here, and it's now becoming a bit more apparent, luckily, that it is important to really show this visually. I think there's a bit of a role that especially the big broadcast houses have to play when it comes to combating this big buzzword right now, fake news, and using maps as an important tool to fight against that. So taking up this responsibility to show the actual facts, to teach your audience. Oftentimes, especially the government-funded broadcast houses, they have this lawfully mandated educational purpose behind it. So understanding that there is a bit of responsibility to here in order to educate your viewers and make sure that what you're reporting on is actually true. That is, of course, the non plus ultra, and then to help getting this story across with maps or with something visual. I think that's where the importance of maps and other data-driven graphics comes into place.
Yeah.
And then,
And also, how do you actually at Mapcreator help broadcasters and publishers and content creators enhance their storytelling? Because I know you did some stuff with the BBC in Washington, and that looked really spectacular. Is that part of the premise of what you want to do, is to be able to make it easier to interact with these maps? And how do you do that kind of stuff?
That's exactly it. Now let's start with our tagline, which is anyone can create maps, and we really want to put an emphasis there on trying to make maps as frictionless as possible, as fast as possible, so that really anyone on the team, no matter whether you are an intern or if you're a senior that just changed jobs, or even if you're a hands-on director, and and it's an all hands on deck situation, you need to get the story out now. You need to get a map with it out now as well, and that's what we want to help with. So really, to be this reliable and quick, accessible tool for maps. And to get back to the selection story, that is definitely something where the importance of getting real-time data out there, to be the first ones to report on something, to be the first ones to say, hey, this is happening now, and especially in the election context, of course, that's quite interesting. That's a part of our story. So being able to get your data, real-time data onto the maps, either by just using the tool. You can use the upload functions, the drag and drop, to get your geojasons or your KMLs or your coordinates onto a map and then visualize your own data. Or in the case of the election, of course, we tapped into some live data sources to get the votes right onto the map. That's another possibility. And what we do as well, and that's a big aspect where we helped in broadcast stations out there, is to connect to other live data sources, such as for natural disasters, for example, for hurricanes, for Cal Fire that just happened a couple of weeks ago, for the war in Ukraine, for example. So there are really a lot of that's usually time spent, or maybe even wasted, if a producer, if an editor, if a journalist has to find the right sources and get it onto a map. And yeah, in our case, we just have these tapped in directly into our tool, and that way you save a lot of time when it comes to creating a map that's actually up to date.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I guess with that, I mean, we know as software developers, I'm sure your team as well, that there are some challenges with data. And what are the biggest challenges that you find integrating real-time data and into the mapping technology and the media workflows? Are the big challenges there?
I think there are probably two aspects to it. So one of it is a bit of a human aspect when it comes to dealing with change in general, and trying out something new and trying out something that's maybe innovative and something that hasn't been untapped yet. So just convincing the right people to do this change, making the right resources available to work on that together. So I think there is a bit of a hurdle still, that it's not always that easy to come across. Is the real-time data reliable as well? Of course, that's another aspect. And then from a more technical perspective, the other part of the answer is that a lot of the news and production systems, especially, they're very well established systems. They've been in use since multiple decades. They're on-prem systems. They are well established within the workflows that they are in the newsroom, especially. And then getting a cloud-based solution that we are into the mix here seems a little bit like a new thing, like a tricky thing. We sometimes joke a bit about the metaphor. Maybe some of you know Silicon Valley's Gavin Belson's The Box kind of thing. You have the box, and then you have our cloud-based system, and to find a ways to get them to work together. Might not seem the most obvious thing to do, but it works. We've proven that it works, and actively working on convincing that this is perfectly doable.
Yeah, and it works with our stuff as well, which is really cool.
It does.
Speaking about that, I mean, what are the advantages of using a cloud-based system compared to sort of traditional graphics tools to make maps? I mean, there's some stuff you can do like in After Effects already and stuff like that. But what are the advantages that you have? I guess the data is one, but beyond that.
Yeah, beyond data, I think the other obvious answer is, something that COVID brought us all 5 years ago and will continue to stay with us, is the fact that your apps need to be available wherever you work, whether you work from home, work from anywhere, work from the office. So instead of worrying that the apps are only available in the system that's on-prem, you can just log into any browser and then create your content there. I think that's a very big topic, and that's gonna continue to stay with us. And the fact that this also automatically allows you to share your content with your team, that you can start working on a graphic on your map, you have a colleague take over because they bring in the other portion of the storytelling or of the data that needs to be shown. If all of that is happening in the cloud, you don't need to think about, okay, I just downloaded the file, how do I get that across to my colleague? And all this kind of tediousness, all of that is part of the history. I think if you can just rely on the cloud and don't be afraid of it.
But also, as I understand it, you've now integrated into Illustrator and After Effects as well, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct. Yes. So we understood that there's no much sense in having to force your users to stay within your system if there are such well-established systems such as Adobe After Effects and Illustrator and just are. They let's face it, they're going to continue to stay and they have merit. So instead of bringing the users into our tool, why we don't just bring our tool into those existing graphic design tools? And
Yeah.
yeah, that's what we did, and that's quite a popular feature for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Yeah, I haven't tried it yet, but I'm really looking forward to giving it a try. I'm going to download it and have a go. So what about, of course, the buzzword for us all, AI, but also automation as well and things like that. How are you leveraging those particular technologies? Because I find it fascinating when I talk to people is that everybody has a different view of AI and how it can work within the products that they're building and they're developing. Is that something you're working on, or do maps not really need AI? I'm not really sure.
I think they urgently need AI, and I just
Okay.
before starting our conversation, I asked AI, "Hey, could you create a map from Austria for me, please?" And I had a very good laugh because I mean, okay, it was roughly looking like the shape of Austria, and was just surprised that there were no schnitzels or skiers visual on the map as well. So AI takes a long time still to be able to produce a real map. I'm not sure if it ever will be able to produce a real map. Maybe that's not even necessary, as long as you just can maybe combine our existing technology with the other power of AI, which is doing the research for you, getting the facts onto a map for you. So more realistic examples, I believe, could be that say you need to run a story on, and I looked it up. I wrote down on a piece of paper. Paper still exists on where nxtedition's office is in Montbijou, Catan, or I'm not sure how you
Yeah,
pronounce it.
yes. Well, no,
Yeah.
I can't say it either.
Okay. But say something happened there. You're writing up that story, and the reporter needs to make the story ready for the teleprompter so the anchor can read of it. While the story is being written up, why not have AI create that locator map for you, right? So it finds that address, it puts the pin on where it is, and then you just need to get the map into the system.
Yeah.
Or say you're doing a piece on the 10 biggest national parks in the US or the 10 tallest mountains in the world. So you're working with actual facts here that AI can get to you, and then with our maps, you can just combine it and get an actual factual map out there.
Yeah, that's interesting because we've also been working on. We saw something. We use an AI that's called Lava that can actually. It looks at an image and it can analyze an image, but it can actually recognize famous land points in it. So it can actually geolocate itself by giving you a location from the image that it's looking at, and that's actually quite an interesting thing as well because you could actually bring content into a system and then it could automatically place itself on a map, for instance.
That's exactly it. Yeah, so we're excited to get working on that soon. We have it actually in progress already, and want to be making it public soon too.
That's good. I can't wait to see it. Now, that leads me beautifully into my next question, Maggie. What's the most exciting innovation that's happening in mapping and geodata right now? And you can tell I'm very proud of that question.
Yeah, I can hear the smile as you're saying it. It's I believe it's how maps and geolocations can be combined with AR, VR, and just make storytelling so much more immersive. And I've seen amazing pieces already where, yeah, you're reporting on the heavy rains, for example, in an area, and then you have the news anchor standing to a virtual basin of water, and you see how quickly it can fill up. And just to be able to put that literally on a map, to be able to bring that story closer to you, make it happening in your living room on your phone, and that is, I think, very amazing.
Yeah, telling stories that can't be told. Yeah, very cool. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about the changing landscape. So, there's a lot of talk right now about particularly broadcasters moving to YouTube, for instance. So then you're kind of taking on the creator economy. But what's quite interesting with your company is that I guess you're working with influencers in the sort of creator economy as well. I guess they're kind of customers to you as well. So with more of those people entering the media space, do you see the demand shifting from traditional broadcasters to these, or do you think it's a harmonious thing? It's an interesting world.
It is an interesting world. I think it could be a harmonious thing as both party. So if you have both the influencers and the more established media houses already, if they are willing to collaborate, simply because it should not be underestimated that the platform, especially the internet, is, and how quickly an influencer can really go viral with a statement or with something that they've shared. And that is something that shouldn't be underestimated. At the same time, then being a broadcast house, to be able to work together with those influencers to get the best out of those both worlds, I think that's something that should be considered, and that could be a good factor here to make this harmonious collaboration possible. And I think what's changing, of course, as well, or a change that's been in process since a long time already, is just that everything is happening mobile first and everything else later. And then just to be able to create content that can work both on your phone as well as all of the other more traditional platforms, be it just linear TV or streaming or paper, even, if you will. If you can get your content across to all of those other stories as well without wasting time because you have to recreate it multiple times, then I think that should be perfectly possible.
But and that actually is very interesting, because that leads me to an interesting. I haven't got this written down as a question, so I've just thought of this one, which is, I think that's the first time on this podcast. So like, you're building maps in HTML and SVG, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So what we're talking about here is that you could build one map and it could be responsive enough to be able to deal with different aspect ratios, if different delivery platforms, different interfaces to stories, billboards, etc. But the story that you're telling on the map will remain the same, right?
That's exactly it. And the story you need to make sure that we want to make sure for you, so you don't have to have this worry. You don't need to have this headache, that the most relevant context of the map, the center of attention, is always visible no matter on which aspect ratio the map is being viewed. So if it's being broadcasted on your, big full HD 4K monitor, and the map needs to look crisp, but it still needs to be looking crisp on your phone, but having slightly more adjusted font sizes or colors, for example. So in all of these kind of aspects, we take care of that headache for you.
And then how much customization can you do around that? I mean, I guess you can change your logos for the points, and you can change the fonts, etc., etc. But you can take care of the resizing of these items in different aspect ratios, for instance.
That's it. So a lot of the customization aspect is already happening even way before the map is actually being created. So we work together with you in making sure that your brand colors, your icons, your fonts, and all that are already on the map, no matter who on the team is going to create this map. So all you need to do is then, when it comes to creating the map for this particular story, that it just has the right icon that matches the story. And then once the map's being created, there's responsive ways on how static maps can be created as well. Then you have a full HD and a 4K and a mobile version created at the same time without you having to hit the download button 3 times in this case. And all that is, again, taken care of automatically for you.
Yeah, it's amazing. I just love that. The whole sort of web technology route to approach, age-old problems, but in a very modern way is really fascinating to me. So if a broadcaster or a media company isn't using data visualization yet, where do you believe they should start?
Can I say with us? Or
You
is
can
that
say
too
that if you want.
self-centered? No, jokes aside, first of all, it's of course important to understand first what are actually even the needs. Are they looking for a one-stop shop for all sorts of graphics? There are tools out there for that, of course. But are you looking for a platform that delivers high-quality maps at all times for all of those platforms? So first, understanding a little bit in which direction the company wants to go, that would be the first step, I would say. And then honestly, it's just, start doing it, start trying it out. There is no perfect if there is no done yet. So at least getting your hands on and see if a system can work for you, and just try it out. That is the second step. And then we find out how we can work together.
Yeah, that's amazing. And one of the things that I really loved about the Washington thing was the way that you put that on the touch screen, and the way that they utilized that in the studio. I mean, they could do all that kind of iPad movements, right, and zoom in, and they were very, very, very interactive. But in terms of cost, that's quite a low cost solution actually to do something complex like that, right?
That's it. A lot of times, all of those devices are, of course, already in place, right? You have your big touchscreen monitors, and so all you need is actually just, a browser that can run our interactive map, and then you start playing with it. Now, of course, there's a bit of a readiness that you need from the news anchor to be able to work on a big touchscreen and interact with this map. That's maybe not a natural movement to do those pinches and whatnot on the big touchscreen monitor, but again, it's all just about taking away that fear and trust the fact that the map is working all right. And you have this, immersive map happening right here on your screen.
Yeah, it looks amazing. It really does. Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, finally, the question that I ask all our guests is my favorite bit. Either personally or professionally, what's the best piece of advice anyone has ever given you?
I think it's about how to learn how to make mistakes and be okay to make mistakes and take away the fear of that. So it's with that, you're also setting an example for the rest of your team. When you know how to admit it, when you obviously didn't do this mistake on purpose, and it's very okay to do that and just do better next time. And it automatically opens up the so many more possibilities within the team. I believe if their fear of making mistakes is taken, they can do so many great things, and no one needs to be afraid to fail.
Yeah, well, that's all successes are built on a million failures. Yeah, I get it. So, Maggie, thank you so much for your time. It's wonderful to see you as always. I guess we'll see you at NAB.
Exactly. Thank you for your
Okay.
time as well. It's
That's
been
all right.
fun.
I'll put all of Maggie's details in the show notes below. So the website and where to find them at NAB. I strongly recommend you go and see them. That's it for this week. We'll see you next week with another guest, and stay tuned.